Welcome back to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. And as we begin the first leg of our conversation, it's important to reflect on one of the big issues that is shaping national development, and it's the fight against corruption. And of course, our two-decade-old Anti-Graft Commission has a job of work in that regard, particularly with so many obstacles, in its path in the fight against corruption. And some of them have been on the front burner in recent times. And so we'll begin at that very point. But of course, we're also going to be looking at other areas that the Efcc is exploring in tackling corruption. And joining us this morning for this, what promises to be an interesting conversation, is the Director of Public Affairs of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Wilson Uwujare. Mr. Wilson, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. It appears as if we can't hear Mr. Uwujare right now. We hope that that will be rectified in the shortest possible time. It promises to be an interesting conversation as we look at alternatives to cybercrime. Of course, the Commission has been campaigning ahead of a summit that it is planning. And when you consider, some of the progress, if you like, of the Commission and indeed other security agencies in arresting, individuals engaged in cyber fraud, you think about the sheer genius that is deployed in what is considered, hacking of apps and phones. And you wonder, the type of productivity that we'll experience if this genius was deployed to, more positive uses. And perhaps that is the direction that the Commission is headed towards this morning. And of course, we'll be, picking the minds of the Anti-Graft Agency through the Director of the Public Affairs Commission, as we hope that the conversation will come through. Bokaidi, I wonder what your thoughts are as far as alternatives to cybercrime is concerned. Well,
quite a number of issues, Bukola. The EFCC has been in the news of late for a number of reasons. And while the EFCC has the job of work, fight corruption, Anti-Graft Agency, there have been some back and forth, particularly with politicians, we've seen state governments going to court, and it's about a year now in office for the chairman of the EFCC. So all of these moving parts will definitely come together to shape this conversation. By the way, if you have questions for the EFCC, particularly on this conversation, hashtag CTV Morning Brief. That's how you can be a part of this conversation. So send in your questions, send in your comments. Let's have a round table. If you want to build a nation that is at least largely free of corruption, all hands must be on deck. So as we inquire from the EFCC about its work, about the alternatives it's pushing to cybercrime, about its work again, investigating the big ones, the big names, not just the seemingly small fries, but the very big ones. Definitely, it's a joint work. So let us know your thoughts. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. Mr. Wilson Uwujare is with us. We'll be speaking with him in a moment for this all-important conversation. So that is one to look out for, I must say, because I think the agency has the event tomorrow, yes, Tuesday, October the 22nd, Alternatives to Cybercrime. And that's something we definitely look forward to. But generally speaking, the EFCC has also been, 2 decades old plus, right? So perhaps we'll also look at the journey from then, how, things have seemed to change. But Bukola, we have Mr. Uwujare now.
And you may also want to speak to the back and forth, borrowing Kaudi's words, between, the cross-dresser, Bobrisky, and Very Dark Man, and, the work that the EFCC has done in that regard, with some accusing fingers pointed at the Commission for its role. We'll have all of that, and if you have those questions, you can bring them through. But Mr. Uwujare is back with us now. Speaking of, some of the things that Kaudi drew attention to earlier, one of the things that Nigerians want to know about at this point in the fight against corruption is, the status of the prosecution of the former governor of Kogi State. We've seen that back and forth playing out with the commission declaring that the former governor is still wanted. And we saw the former governor visit your office, but he was still not, taken in. So what exactly is happening with the prosecution of former governor Yahaya Bello?
Thank you very much for that question. I think I would like to come back to that question a little bit later. And your conversation before I came up, you talked about the creativity of Nigerian youth, especially those who are involved in cybercrime. It's amazing the kind of skill set that these youngsters have, and we are worried that rather than employ those skills in positive endeavor, a lot of them have deployed them in criminality. And that is the impetus for the National Summit on Cybercrime, which the Commission is planning. And that event is holding tomorrow in Abuja. And the reason why we have put it up is that the current leadership of the Efcc decided that, look, over the years, we have prosecuted a lot of youngsters on cybercrime and achieved a lot of convictions. And we just felt that, look, we can't continue to prosecute and convict these people. And recognizing the fact that once an individual is convicted, there are a lot of things that you cannot do in your life. You are excluded from participation in national development in key areas of key sectors of the economy. And we were worried about that. And the chairman felt, look, we have to do something about this. Find a way of redirecting the skills and energies of the youngsters into positive endeavor. And that is the reason we are talking about alternatives to cyber crimes, optimizing the skills of these youngsters for national development. Essentially, what we want to do is to bring in experts from all areas to talk about what opportunities exist in all sectors, the financial services sectors, the tech ecosystem, creative industries, entrepreneurship. What can they do? What can they use their skills to do that will bring legitimate incomes to them? That is essentially what we want to achieve tomorrow. And the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, CON, is the guest of honor, and the MD of NCC is going to chair a panel discussion session. That's the managing director of the NIGDA will deliver the lead paper, and we have assembled a crack panel that comprises of people who are really, really knowledgeable in this area. Some of them include the co-founder of Flutterwave. He will be there. We also have the governor of the central bank, the MD of Bank of Industry, and a lot of other people that will be part of the panel discussion session. And we are hoping that they will help us come up with opportunities that these youngsters can actually tap in to earn legitimate income. And once we're able to do that, we are hopeful that we'll be able to reduce the involvement of young people in cyber criminality. And then back to your question on Yahaya Bello, you will recognize that we already have 2 charges filed in court against him. And in one of them, he was given a summons last week to appear before the FCT High Court. The other charge is before the Federal High Court in Abuja here. And that matter came up about a week ago. And his lawyers appeared in court, and they said they have appealed the Court of Appeal judgment, which mandated him to submit himself to the court for trial, that they have filed an appeal to that matter. The case has been adjourned, and we will also meet him in court at the adjournment date. The truth of the matter is that the EFCC declared this young man wanted for several months. He has been in hiding, and each time the case came up for hearing in court, his lawyers will either come up with one or another excuse why he is unable to appear in court. And we believe that all those excuses were part of a delay tactics to prevent him from submitting himself for trial. So those charges are pending in court, and we are hopeful that the man who says he believes in the rule of law will take that opportunity to present himself in court. The charges have been filed, and the law, as it is in Nigeria, presumes you to be innocent until proven otherwise. So he has the opportunity, if he believes that he's innocent of all the charges that the Efcc has filed against him, go to court, present yourself before the judge, and argue your case. And let Efcc present its evidence. If our evidence is credible enough to achieve conviction, well, all well and good. If the court also believes that we don't have a case to him, against him, the court can also throw away the matter. So, as law-abiding citizens, both at the corporate and individual level, it is on the incumbent of us to submit every process and procedure before the rule of law and before the court of competent jurisdiction. That is what the Efcc is doing.
But Mr. Ujara, the former governor visited the commission's office a few weeks back, and the question many Nigerians are asking is, why was he not arrested if indeed he is wanted?
I think we have gone past that stage. What the appeal court ruling was that he should submit himself before the trial court, that is the Federal High Court in Abuja here, not to submit himself to the car park of the EFCC. And we have dealt with that issue. So the matter is in court, and if he's really serious about submitting himself to the dictates of the rule of law, the charges have been filed. All he needs to do is, at the adjourned date, present yourself before the court, take your plea to the charges that have been filed against you, and then let the trial process begins. He's not the first former governor that the EFCC will take to court. At the last count, under the current leadership of the EFCC, we have 3 former governors that have been taken to court on alleged corruption cases. They took their plea, and they have been granted bail. The trial is ongoing. I don't see any reason why a single individual will hold the entire nation to ransom because corruption charges have been filed against you. If you are innocent of those charges, go to court and defend yourself. He has the resources to hire the best lawyers that this country can offer. The FCC is not against anybody hiring any lawyer. We know we have done our investigation, and we believe that we have a case against him. And that is the reason why we file those matters in court. But if you believe that he is innocent of those charges, avail yourself of the benefit of the process that the law has established for this country. Present yourself in court and defend yourself. It's as simple as that.
Well, Mr. Ujaran, we've since seen some sort of groundswell opposition against the legality of the EFCC. But still on the former Governor Yaya Bello's case, this is not the EFCC that a lot of people saw, for example, the former Governor Rocha Sokorocha, when the EFCC was trying to arrest him. So public opinion is beginning to wonder, what is different with the former governor Yaya Bello? Because they know if the EFCC wants to do its job, and when it wants to do its job, they see how the EFCC does it. They see EFCC arresting Yahoo boys, suspected Yahoo boys, sometimes in their dozens, scores, all lined up powerless. They see how they, find a way just to get those suspects. So they wonder, what's different with the white lion? Is the white lion really scaring the eagle in this case?
EFCC is not scared of anybody. We don't know anything about the white lion. If the lion is really white, the case is in court. Let him present himself. We have the evidence that we have presented in court. If he believes he's innocent and is a white lion, let him go to the court and present himself. It's as simple as that. EFCC cannot be afraid of anybody. Our slogan is that every Nigerian, no one is above the law. And wherever you are, anywhere you are, EFCC want to get you, we will get you.
All right, so I'd like you to also give us a picture of the work that has been done in the past 1 year. Your chairman, Mr. Olaolukoyede, who is, championing this alternative to cybercrime cause. Well, there are different perspectives about his work. Some say, well, it's great to see a change, a departure from what we've seen with previous chairmen and their pedigree. So he's expected to bring a fresh air of sort into the commission. Some say, well, we've not really seen much. This has been underwhelming so far. But then figures don't lie, right? So maybe you can give us figures as to his achievements so far in office. Yes, we have the Yaya Bello matter. We have the allegations by Bobrisky against some officials. So we have some of those, blights of sorts. But give us a picture in terms of figures, the arrests, convictions, monies recovered, so Nigerians understand whether work has been ongoing or not.
Well, every leadership has its own style. And this administration, I hope you are getting me.
Oh, yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Okay. Every leadership has its own style. The style of this current leadership of the Efcc, there is a greater emphasis on corruption prevention. One of the key points that he made at his confirmation hearing, he promised that he was going to use the fight against corruption to stimulate the economy, and he was going to work in line with the rule of law. In terms of stimulating the economy, part of the initial step that he took upon assumption of office was to say, look, the Naira came under serious pressure and the value kept falling. And he rallied around the Central Bank of Nigeria, set up a task force on currency racketeering and abuse of the Naira. And that measure, the enforcement activities that the Commission carried out in going after currency racketeers, helped to a large extent in shoring up the value of the Naira at that initial stage of the Naira crisis that we currently face within the country. Apart from that, he also set up a new department within the Commission that is called Fraud Risk Assessment and Control Department. Essentially, that department is given a mandate to look at the corruption vulnerabilities of ministries, departments, and agencies. The focus is to check especially procurement fraud within those agencies. You will agree with me that the major source of corruption, especially in the public sector, largely pertains to contract and procurement processes. And the Commission is determined to ensure that these practices are checked before they occur. Because the popular maxim is that prevention is better than cure. And once you are able to prevent procurement fraud before they happen, we will be able to save a lot of resources for this nation. But in terms of recoveries and convictions, which is usually the attention of the media, he has also done a lot in terms of 1 year. In terms of Naira recovery, we have recovered over 200 billion Naira in 1 year of Olukoyede's administration. That is not to talk about the dollar and the euro component of the recoveries. The figures are actually humongous. And in terms of also the conviction returns, we have over 3,000 convictions in 1 year of his administration. That for us is interesting. But we are not emphasizing records of conviction per se, because our focus now is to prevent corruption. Those convictions figures that I've just given, 70% of those convictions pertains to cybercrime cases. And that is the reason we are talking about this summit on cybercrime, because we believe that we shouldn't just be trumpeting conviction figures. We should actually be working hard to reduce those figures by preventing youngsters from getting involved in cybercrime, which is why we have put up this summit that I'm talking about tomorrow to talk about the alternative to cybercrime. How do we get these young boys and girls away from cybercrime?
And that is important.
Make them useful to the economy.
Mr. Ujaren, that is
create opportunities for young people, create opportunities for our economy.
That is very critical, and you've spoken quite a lot to it. But Nigerians are also watching the EFCC and seeing whether the same vigor deployed to fighting cybercrime, going after the Yahoo boys, is seen in going after very important personalities who may also be complicit in embezzlement of funds, which are very important to the people, taxpayers' money. And Mr. Ujaren, I don't think you quite answered my colleague's very important question about, us not seeing the same level of treatment, deployed to former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, in the fight against corruption on that level to, former Governor Yahaya Bello. But speak to this, Mr. Ujare. In defending the bribery allegation leveled by a very dark man in that video that he released, or the audio of Bobrisky's experience with the Correctional Service and officials of the Commission. The Commission's defense was that the dropping of charges was in line with the Administration of Criminal Justice Act because it was found that his firm was not complicit in financial crimes. But the allegation leveled really against the officials was to the effect that the bribery obtained was to allow him serve his prison term in a VIP section. So they're not quite aligning. I'd like you to speak to, the seeming disconnect in the explanation provided by the EFCC as against what was actually alleged.
First of all, let me talk about the Richard Okorocha matter that you mentioned. When EFCC tried to arrest Okorocha a few years ago, there was a kind of media opera about the tactics that we used in entering his house. And a lot of Nigerians condemned that. If we were to repeat that same tactics in this Yahaya Bello case, I'm sure people will also condemn that. We find ourselves in a situation where no matter what step you take, people will raise issues. We are trying to follow the due process of the law now. You are saying, why are we not using the same tactics that the media condemned a few years ago? Well, having said that, back to your current question about Very Dark Man and Bobrisky, I think the Commission has issued a statement on the allegations that were made concerning the operatives of the Commission. And the chairman promised that he was going to carry out an investigation concerning those allegations. That investigation is still ongoing, and I'm assuring the public that once we have concluded the investigation, we'll make the findings public. I think I want to leave it at that. I don't want to continue with a conversation on that issue until we're able to finalize the investigation that is currently ongoing.
And we hope also that your assurance is to the effect that if indeed officials of the Commission are complicit in obtaining bribery, they will also be prosecuted. We must anchor at this point. So many other areas to touch, but we want to thank you very much.
But I think you should also speak to, pardon me, Bukola. So the summit tomorrow, okay. Can anybody attend? I imagine a potential, maybe people who are being lured into Yahoo, if they are watching and they're thinking, so what's the alternative? Can they be a part of the event as well? I think it's an important bit of the work you're doing. So yes, Nigerians will give you the flack when they think you deserve it, but also commendation. So if people want to attend, what's the process and what should they expect?
Well, all our invited guests, we have an arrangement for them to assemble at the Eagle Square by 8 a.m. tomorrow, and all of them will be carried by buses to the banquet hall or the presidential villa where the event is happening. And a significant percentage of those who are invited are also members of this significant demographic, the youth. And I should also add that one of the things we are set for launch tomorrow is what we call a 24/7 cybercrime response desk, which we have established. And the essence of that desk is to receive lifetime information from people who are victims of cybercrime. If you are a victim and you call to that desk, you will receive immediate help. That will be launched tomorrow. And we also have the result of an essay competition that we organize, and winners of that competition will be given prizes on that occasion. So we invite all stakeholders to come and share experience with us, because EFCC alone don't have the solution to cybercrime. We want to mobilize all ideas that we can to ensure that we deal with this problem and make our youth contribute meaningfully to national development.
So are you concerned then by seeming opposition to the legality of the EFCC? Because you seem to have a lot of work to do, but there are those who are saying the EFCC is not legal. 16 state governments saying, well, we're going to court to challenge it. So are you concerned that maybe this might affect the work you're doing, and who knows what will happen to the EFCC in the coming years?
That is interesting. I'm worried that with the kind of problem we have with corruption in this country, that some people would go to court to challenge the legality of Efcc. Those who are doing this, I'm not sure that citizens in their state, that Efcc is their greatest problem. I doubt that if that is the case. What you see playing out is simply people who are feeling the heat of the work of the Efcc, and they simply want to derail what is going on within the Efcc. They see the Efcc as a threat, and purely that is what is playing out. And I think Nigerians can see through the gimmick of those who are behind the challenge of the legality of the commission. And there's a contest to the existence of the Efcc. Those who are old enough will recognize that when the Efcc was established 20 years ago, the Financial Action Task Force had blacklisted Nigeria. We were not even able to make transactions in the international community. Currently, the Efcc is on a grey list of the FATF. And yet you have governors who are supposed to be significant stakeholders in this country challenging the legality of the Efcc. The Efcc is a creation of the National Assembly. The National Assembly is not federal government assembly. It's not Abuja Assembly. You have representatives from across Nigeria in the House of Reps. You have senators from across Nigeria in the Senate. And these are representatives of the people, representatives of the governors themselves who enacted the Efcc Act. Section 4 of the Constitution and Section 15(5) of the Constitution give the National Assembly the powers to make law for peace, security, and good governance of Nigeria. So people who are concerned about transparency and accountability will not wish the FCC to be killed. Let me use the word killed, because that is the agenda. They simply want to derail the fight against corruption because they don't want accountability in their domains.
Clearly, Mr. Ojare,
look at those who are behind it.
This is an ongoing...
Look at the chief mastermind of this process is the Kogi governor, who has refused to, the former Kogi governor, who has refused to submit himself for prosecution.
Mr. Ojare, it's a continuing conversation.
And then you have all senior lawyers who are jumping in the bandwagon.
Particularly...
And the former vice president made a very valid comment.
We really must anchor at this point.
Integrity has become a scarce commodity in Nigeria. When people talk, you need to reflect back and look at the antecedent. If you do that, you know where they are coming from. And we are really shocked by what is happening. Nigerians should see through these shenanigans and oppose it, because I don't see how this country can survive without the EFCC. With the kind of problem that we have, corruption problem that we have in this country, Nigeria cannot do without the EFCC.
It's a continuing conversation, Mr. Ojare, particularly because of the flurry of reactions trailing that challenge to the case in court, and by the letter written by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Olisa Bakoba, to the National Assembly. As well. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So we hope to have you again especially as this conversation unfolds, particularly with regards to the legality challenge of the EFCC. Mr. Ojare, we want to thank you very much. We've been speaking with the Director of Public Affairs of the Commission, Mr. Wilson Ojare. And we'll anchor this one at this point, but the program is not over yet. We're moving to the next leg of our conversation, which is just as critical to every Nigerian. It's on CNG safety, particularly with this challenge of continuing rise at the pump price of petrol. So you don't want to miss this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.